I've kind of personally taken a prioritization in getting a long time project done, the Puʻu Habitat Conservation Plan. It was for the existence of sheep within the presence of endangered species. It's a big convoluted environmental assessment type of thing that's now 18 years or so in the making, and I think it's hit a point where it's all the work has been done. It's just hitting political stonewalls along the way. So trying to get that done, and the general sense of the term, that would be, for lack of a better word, some progress toward game management, so to speak.
There was some sort of a rumor, maybe, maybe it is, but I wanted to ask you if you had heard anything from USGS suggesting that hunters should be prohibited or for a period of time because hunters, in fact, may increase fire hazard.
That came in the context of the Puʻu Habitat Conservation Plan. So just to, I don't know how well people understand HCP, but I'll use an example. Take a windmill for an example. Everybody knows a windmill is otherwise legal to make in Hawaii. It produces clean energy, yada, yada, yada. But it sometimes chops up and kills endangered seabirds or endangered wildlife, which is otherwise against the law. So how do you do something that is otherwise legal, yet it sometimes has illegal consequences? So one of the ways around that is a habitat conservation plan. So take that analogy and put it to sheep. With the sheep in Puʻu, there's endangered species across Puʻu, endangered plants, and they incidentally happen to eat some of these endangered plants. Well, how do you keep sheep for public hunting, which is one of the Hawaii Revised Statutes 183D, one of the state laws to promote, protect, and preserve hunting? How do you do that, but yet still keep these animals around that might incidentally eat an endangered plant? Again, Habitat Conservation Plan was proposed somewhere around 2002 or 3 or something like that. Federal monies were allocated to do it, and it progressed along the way a lot of time, and it's hit some roadblocks. But along those roadblocks, getting back to Nani's question, was you guys can look it up. The Habitat Conservation Plan approvals typically sit with the Endangered Species Recovery Committee, similar to like the state GMAC. They're appointed individuals, but they're tasked with approving and recommending the Habitat Conservation Plans, HCPs. The board approves them, but I believe the ESRC, this Endangered Species Recovery Committee, are the ones that kind of vet it and then recommend its approval. So the Puʻu HCP sat in the ESRC's lap, and there's minutes from those meetings, just like any other commission has them. You guys can read up on them. And one of those minutes came from a specific commission member there that they've done a lot of work to try to mitigate the take of endangered plants there. And some of them are still not all mitigated. Of course, they're out in the open, and they will be incidentally eaten. Yet the expanse of what the state is required to do based on this commission, on that committee, is also to mitigate for fire risks. So they create all these fence units where they put all the endangered plants, and they're supposed to be theoretically restored or protected in there, hopefully, to offset the take of sheep eating them elsewhere, kind of thing. Well, they're saying that, well, if you're going to do that, we need a good fire protection plan. And part of that fire protection plan was large fire breaks, was perhaps maybe dip tanks. People who want to see some of the dip tanks on the Unit G and Unit A area, and maintaining those things. So there was a comment from a commissioner that more hunting increases fire, under the guise that perhaps your vehicles or ATVs or whatever driving through tall grass, catalytic converter perhaps causing a brush fire. I'm not sure, personally, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of data for how often that has happened in the past. I don't think it happens quite often. But nonetheless, you know, these are politically appointed people, and they can ask for specific things, and that was one of them. So yeah, I mean, they have a conscious idea that the fire is a risk. In some places, they take more effort to care about that, and in others, maybe not so much. So it's political always in some fashion. The Puʻu HCP, that plan, since it's been so long, Deputy Bob Masuda had, and with Kanalo, the West Hawaii biologist, had, because it stalled with the specific committee to get the endangered species site done, you could maybe say endangered species folk don't want to see your animals there in general, so they don't want to see the plan move forward. But there was an alternative posed that maybe the DOFAL, Division of Forestry and Wildlife, can go to the state can go to the board, the BLNR that approves plans for the state, and suggest an alternative. The alternative being a management plan for the animals, under the idea that the state has the prerogative to manage endangered plants and game species on the land on state land, instead of always having to ask somebody else for permission. So that is currently in the process. I guess they're trying to figure out how that's going to be structured and told to the board, and then maybe getting, I believe they're going to get board direction on it and also Attorney General direction as well. So this is something that they had talked about for a few meetings now, and who knows, maybe around March or so we'll see something come forward.